Hello, Deck.
Hello, George. How the devil are you?
I'm great, and hello to our listeners who are wondering, where have you been? We've been here. We're ready. We're going. Shout out to our sponsors, Coin Poker, for continuing to sponsor the pod. That is great. And Deck, we haven't got a guest this week, but do you know why?
Because we don't bloody need one.
We don't bloody need one, do we? No. We have got the biggest show in history. Is it, Deck? Should we get to the bottom of that? Should we debunk it, or is that the truth? Is this the best show ever been done?
I think, remember when they did the...
Magnificent Seven, James DeGale,
Frankie
Gavin, Matthew Macklin, maybe.
No.
Yeah.
But remember when they did the Day of Reckoning card with Joshua against Wallin and Wilder against Zhang, I think it was, or Parker. Anyway, when they did that, people were saying, "Is this the best card ever?" And I remember being like, "Yeah, you could probably say it is." Don King did some mega cards, but I think we could all agree that these Saudi cards are a bit different in that they're so deep and there's so many big fights on it. And for me, this is the best of the Saudi cards so far. So therefore,
really,
by default, this is the best one in history. Or at least it has to be in the conversation, because we're going to get into each fight, basically, apart from the 2 6-rounders. We're going to get into all the 12-rounders. Mm-hmm. We could, in theory, if this was any other time in the year, every single one of these fights we're about to talk about would probably have warranted its own "how about that?" Or certainly, we would have previewed this. This is mental. And the thing is, we've been conditioned to it now. We're kind of used to these cards a little bit. This one, for me, is the biggest one of the lot because, it's got a world heavyweight title fight. It's not even the main event. Mad.
Do you think, it's a problem? And it's a problem for, maybe Turkey Al-Sheikh and Riyadh Season, that, he wants so many fights and he's just, he's cramming cards. There's too many fights, Deck. Are we too spoiled? Are we going to be exhausted by the time... Yeah. We end up with a main event, number one beat number one / number one beat number two, who knows, 2 best light heavyweights in the world. We've already had half a dozen main events, half a dozen 12-rounders. Some may go 12-rounders. Yeah.
Mate, I think it's a very good point, and I think there's a balance, but only because of what we've been used to over the years, and that is a really good main event, and then maybe a good chief support, and then the rest are a lot learning fights. Maybe here and there you get a couple of interesting fights on the undercard. So we're not used to this level of quality throughout a card.
Yeah,
I think it's when you go and see a band play, they can't just do the hits. They never just do the hits. There's an ebb and flow to gigs, aren't there? There's
this is hit after hit after hit. No?
This is hit. But the reason there's an ebb and flow in a gig is because people just cannot stay there for the entirety of a gig. You have to have the little lull. You need to go in for a piss. Yep. You need to go for a beer. But these cards, and also the fights come so thick and fast. What I think it does is, if there's a stinker in there, if someone doesn't turn up, or if the fighters don't gel, then it really is stark. When you're watching, you're like, oh, okay, this one's going on a bit now. But it's true, because we're not used to it. They're under so much pressure, these guys, to deliver and to perform, because the quality is so high.
Yep.
I think the only downside, the drawback maybe, is that, like I mentioned there, a lot of these fights would be main eventers in the UK, and you could build a show around Buatsi Smith, for instance. That's going to be in the middle of the, late in the afternoon, really, as far as I can tell, looking at the rest of the card. That card would have headlined in the UK. How long have we been talking about Buatsi against Callum Smith? Absolutely ages. Mm-hmm. We get it now, and we get it because of Saudi and the money, to be honest. And we didn't get it before. So, we cannot complain. But what it does mean is that people paying the pay-per-view for this are getting their value for money, George. You cannot argue with that, can you?
No, absolutely. They're getting their value for money, Deck, and at risk of this podcast dragging on a little bit longer than it should do,
yes.
And people maybe getting a bit stale with what we're talking about right now, let's get into it, because we've got so many to get into. And I think we should start with the main event, because I don't want to run out of steam by the time we get to the 2 big boys. So we're going to work our way down the card.
Yeah?
Work our way down the card.
Good idea. Start with the boys. So this is the light heavyweight rematch between the undisputed champion Artur Beterbiev and Dmitri Bivol, who
still for all the belts.
It's still for all the belts, yeah. Because
Still for all the belts, yep.
They haven't peeled one off, have they? I'm pretty sure they haven't.
Nope.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's no WBA champion. Pretty sure they got them all. Anyway, regardless, it's to decide the man. We thought we were going to decide who the man was last year, but it was the most undisputed fight ever.
Do you think they thought about renaming Undisputed?
Yeah, very disputed.
Yeah.
Beterbiev won on 2 of the 3 cards, 115, 113 and 116, 112, and the other judge had it level at 14-14. I personally had Dmitri Bivol winner. Turkey Al Sheikh ringside had Dmitri Bivol winner. He was not best pleased about the decision. He thought it was a wrong decision. So what it meant is on the Sunday, the day after their first fight, they all met, those 3. Beterbiev, Bivol and Turkey, and they sat down and they thrashed out a deal for the rematch together, which is unheard of as well. And here we are, George. I don't know what the hell is going to happen here.
No, that's usually a good sign.
Yeah, it's a bad start for this podcast, but I could see, you know what often happens with these fights? Punches like Beterbiev. Look what Inoue did to Donaire in their rematch. Okay, it wasn't an immediate rematch, but he's kind of like he works him out, and he went the 12 round distance. It was close in the first fight, and then just steamrolls him in the rematch. Could Beterbiev do that, or can Bivol, who many people thought won the fight, like his promoter Eddie Hearn, like Turkey, and like me, will he just turn up, do the same, and get the decision this time? What on earth happens, George?
Yeah, will it be the same fight and a different winner? And will we be happy with that? Will we not? I want to see something different. I like what the picture you're painting for us, Deck. That something's going to be different and someone's going to get steamrolled. And I don't know which one it could be because they're both big punchers. I've heard stories about Bivol being a monster puncher. Who was telling me that story today? And I think it was, it wasn't their own words. It wasn't someone who's been in there with Bivol, but it's someone who's heard an interview maybe with Benavidez or someone like that. Someone rating Bivol's punch power. So maybe Bivol goes, you know what? I fought a little bit too much on the back foot last time. Gave you a little bit too much respect. Maybe I should throw a little bit more punches on that second wave.
Let me just stop you there, George, because I interviewed Bivol at the launch press conference, and he said exactly that. He said he needs more moments in this fight. And we were like, well, what does a moment mean? And he said, it just means the good bits in the fight where I landed punches. I need to do more of that. And you're like, okay, that sort of makes sense. But then he said, the one thing I need to change is power. I need more power. So I think you've hit the nail on the head there, because Bivol is 23-1. The one, obviously, that one contentious defeat, but he's only got 12 knockouts in the 23 wins. So people think of him as a bit of a non-puncher because he's in and out, and he's uses that Soviet style so well. But maybe he's got it in the locker that he just holds his feet and tries to put Beterbiev away. Yeah,
I mean, they've got to be old legs, really old legs. Beterbiev, haven't they? He's in his 40s now, and this is 40, it's not been an awful long time since they fought last. Do you know what I mean? It's not 6 months that you'd actually ideally want between big fights twice a year. This is, 4 months, isn't it, Deck?
4 months, it was in October of last year, yeah. So
he's jumped on him. Let's have it.
And he's never done 12 rounds before, Beterbiev as a pro. So he's never had to go from a 12-rounder into another fight. Certainly not this quickly, but he usually chins people in 3 rounds. He's never had an arduous 12-rounder like that before. So what's that do for a 40-year-old Beterbiev?
He's probably doubting his power now, isn't he?
Great point. Is he wondering, shit, I couldn't get rid of him. Everyone falls over apart from this bloke. What am I supposed to do?
I ain't got it no more, yeah.
Does he start loading up?
Well, yeah, again, I thought there was just... I think maybe I'm the harshest of critics when I was watching it because I was hoping for more. Yeah. But I thought both guys showed each other an incredible amount of respect, and maybe rightly so. But no one pushed it and tried to grab it by the scruff of the neck and win that fight. They both tried their best and they both switched on tactically, but no one rolled the dice. And I'm surprised at that. Both guys in the position they was in left it as judges' scorecards, and if whoever lost, neither, in my opinion, could have been too bitter about it. And then Bivol probably he's thinking, Should have rolled the dice. Should have tried. Shouldn't have backed up so much. Should have put some
opportunity.
Should have tried to crack him. And next time, I'm not leaving it to the judge's decision. I'm going to put it on him. He might feel that, in a close fight, they're always going to favour Beterbiev. That's how a fighter's mind works sometimes. They're like, they don't like me. I didn't get to sit on that top table at the awards dinner. You didn't come, Deck. We came to the Ring Magazine Awards. I wonder why you didn't come. But you should have come because it was great. It was only a line bike away. And all the A-star guys, I told us all on the pod, they sat at the table. Bivol was not at the top table. He had to sit at the side. Someone actually handed him their coat. They thought he was just collecting coats. He was that out of the picture. And he doesn't want that, Deck.
He don't want to be there anymore, does he?
And he's one win away from sitting next to Turki Al-Sheikh, isn't he? Sitting at the top table. And someone else getting kicked out. Yeah, exactly. So
he started really well, didn't he, in that fight as well? I wonder if he just sees it as a missed opportunity because he just it just slipped away, couldn't quite keep the pace and the pressure up, and then just unravelled here and there, and it was enough for Beterbiev to nick rounds. I personally think these two are so evenly matched, and they know each other so well now from the 12, and they're so good that this is going to be an almost identical fight.
Do you think someone's going to hit the deck?
No, I think there'll be few flashpoints. Maybe even less than last time. It'll be very tactical. It'll be very close.
Is that boring? Are you
boring? I like those fights.
Are you sort of in love with the footwork and the tactics?
I find it absorbing in these fights, but when you have a puncher like Beterbiev as well, because you know that at any point it can go out the window, and then you get to the end of the 12th and nobody's been knocked out, and you think, I was still on the edge of my seat and excited. Okay, I didn't get the finish, but I was still loving it. I think I cannot see how either man drops the ball enough for the other one to take over. I think it's almost an identical fight. I think there'll be another scream up. Maybe Bivol gets it this time, but I don't, not to hint at any collusion, but it just, judges know what happened in the first fight. Maybe they're going to be look slightly more favourably on Bivol, and then they're contracted for a third fight. I'm pretty sure we're going to have number 3 at some point. I think Bivol wins a close decision, personally. George, what do you reckon?
Yeah. I mean, I don't like to agree with you, Deck, as you know, but I think I will have to agree with you on this one. I think it will be close. I think it might be the same fight. I feel like both guys might have the intention of, rolling the dice, trying to hurt the guy in front of them and whatnot. But once you get 2 rounds in, there's so much to play for. They're just going to play it safe. And safe as in give away no free shots. And sure, that's the way to do it. But, yeah, no one's going to go, right, I'm just going to... Beterbiev, as you said, he's only been 12 rounds once. Is he in the back of his mind going, do you know what, I need to be fully charged 9, 10, 11, 12 just in case. I don't want to lose them last 4 rounds, those last 3 rounds, and that'll cost me the fight.
So it just sits back.
It don't do that. And I think Bivol nicks it this time, and I think there will be the judges who will go, Bivol should have won it the first time. Rounds are close. Fuck it, I'll give it Bivol this time. And he might win an even closer decision.
116, 112, I reckon. I picked Bivol to win on points last time. If I change my mind now and he does it, I'll be fuming. So I'm going Bivol on points.
You're not going to back the draw, no?
There's every... This is a sort of fight. Could be a draw, and therefore the price on it is shite. So no, I never really... It'll probably be like 12 to 1 or something. But, when these fights are so evenly matched, a draw is very much in play here. And one bloke has a good round and then takes the next one off to preserve a bit of steam, and then the other bloke takes that. It can be back and forth like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that, George. I'll tell you why I wasn't at the Ring Magazine later on in the show. Just keep you on the edge of your seat there.
Oh yeah.
Got a little reveal later. But should we park that one, because we've talked about that fight for fucking so long over the last year or so. I'm going points Bivol, and so are you. So we'll Joseph Parker that one, which takes us nicely on to the next one, which is the fight I think I'm most excited about on this card, George. It is Daniel Dynamite Dubois.
Yes,
Triple D, who defends his IBF World Heavyweight title against the rejuvenated, the in-form, the nicest guy in boxing, perhaps, Joseph Parker. who, 7 years after losing his WBO heavyweight title to Anthony Joshua in Cardiff, gets another bite at the world heavyweight cherry. If it was a fruit, it would be a cherry. What do we think happens here, Joe? I have an opinion on this fight. What do you reckon we're going to see? Can Parker do it again?
I find this one quite hard to pick as well, because I think Parker's in with a real shot, in with a real chance. But do I make him the favourite, though? No, you can't make him the favourite, because Daniel Dubois, his last performance was great. Parker hasn't boxed since March last year. But might help him, might not.
Great point.
He beat Zhang, and what felt like an in-form Zhang, a Zhang who at 40-odd years of age has finally sort of risen to his best abilities. Parker had to get up off the floor twice there to win that fight, and did. And maybe that's what this fight is going to be about. Maybe he'll have to get up off the floor. He might have to at least weather some tough times against Daniel Dubois, and it's going to be his boxing ability, his strength, his bravery, and his conditioning that gets him through the rounds, and maybe gets to Daniel Dubois late, maybe breaks his heart, maybe hurts him, maybe just beats him on points. I don't know, Dec. I don't know. I am excited about this fight, and I feel like possibly still the best Daniel Dubois is still yet to come. I think, Dec, his last fight against Anthony Joshua, where he's the heavyweight champion of the world and ring walks first. Do you know what I mean? That's the status of Anthony Joshua. It's at Wembley Stadium, record attendance, massive, massive night. It's going to be the biggest night in his career, period, right?
Yeah.
And he performs out of his shell. He jumps on him, does a number on him, bashes him up, and ends up, knocking him face first into the canvas, retaining his title. There's never going to be a greater moment for him than that. He could avenge the loss against Usyk. It won't feel as good as what that felt right there and then. And maybe he's not an emotional guy. Maybe he's an easygoing lad, Daniel Dubois. Don't say much, don't seem to be bothered by much, but maybe there is a lot of emotion underneath the bonnet, and it ain't going to get better than that, Dec. It's all downhill from there. And what does that mean? What does that mean going into a Joseph Parker fight? It's a hard fight.
Yeah.
And I bet, Turki Al-Sheikh says, right, this is the fight we want. Does he say, this is the fight we want and this is the fight you've got? Does he say to Daniel Dubois, here's an option, you've got three to pick from, and they're all fucking hard fights, Dec. And is Joseph Parker, in their opinion, the easiest fight out of them three? I don't know. I don't know how it works.
I think they needed to keep Daniel busy because they're looking at an Usyk rematch, I think. So then it would have been that sort of situation. I hadn't considered that idea that Wembley was maybe his Everest and this is just maybe a little step down. I'm not sure if that's going to be a factor for Daniel. But what I do think is that when you think about the way that Joshua fight finished, if you remember the knockout, the short right hand, was it? He just swallowed 2 or 3 full-blooded right hands from Anthony Joshua and didn't even budge. I think that's a problem for Joseph Parker. We've seen this chin emerge on Dubois, not literally, but over Jarrell Miller hit him with all sorts. Hrgovic hit him with straight right hand, about 20 of them, and he didn't budge. And then Joshua hit him with a few. I know Joshua was unravelling at that point, but there's still Anthony Joshua right hands. And I just worry that Joseph Parker, even the Joseph Parker who's been rejuvenated by Andy Lee and has been strengthened by George Lockhart, the MMA S&C guy, I'm not sure he's got the firepower to stop Daniel Dubois. Literally, i.e. stop him in the fight, but just to slow him down. And I think with Joseph Parker, I say he's in form. You're right, he hasn't boxed since he beat Zhilei Zhang in March. He was on a run. He boxed 4 times in 2023 and won them all. So he was on an unbelievable run. But let's just go through him. He beat Jack Massey, former cruiserweight, on points over 10. He knocked out Figo Apula in a round, who's not on his level, 15-3-2 guy over in Australia. Then he beat Simon Keane, knocked him out, really good knockout. But again, Simon Keane, not Daniel Dubois. Then he beat Deontay Wilder, which was a great win. But we've seen what Wilder has become. So it's not the Wilder of old, but it's still Deontay Wilder. Then he got a majority decision against Zhilei Zhang, and he got dropped twice in it. Yes, he got dropped twice, but he got up twice, so he showed his heart and his courage there. But I could just see a couple of little caveats here where you think Daniel Dubois, I know what you mean about his emotion, but I think he's not one-dimensional, because that's the wrong phrase, because that sounds like a dig at him, but I think he's got one thing on his mind at all times, and that is go out there and destroy.
Right. Yeah.
What were you going to say? What did you say?
I don't know. Yeah, say
Paddle.
one thing's mine. It could have been paddle.
Sausages.
So,
no, I think it's one thing on his mind is just paddle, and he just wants to go down the court. So let's get this over with. No, but I think Joseph Parker, skilled, fast, experienced. He's got more than one thing in his mind at all times. I think he's this. He could do this. He could do that.
Paddle.
He might get
everything.
Caught, paddle, sausages. He eats raw fish. Like, he's always thinking about stuff. Daniel Dubois, I think, has got this one. He's going out there and he's going to try and walk through this, whoever's in front of him, and he don't give a fuck what comes back. And I think that's a problem for Joseph Parker in this fight. I always worried about Joseph Parker's size in this division these days. He's not the biggest heavyweight. I think he's 6'3", 6'4". He's, like I say, he's strengthened, and he can punch. He's got 23 knockouts from 35, so he's not a non-puncher. But I just feel like this version of Dubois, what you need, unless you're Alexander Usyk, you need to just be massive and really heavy-handed. I just think Parker's skill set is just slightly creeping towards the realm of good news for Daniel Dubois.
But if you look at the Dubois fight against Usyk gasses the tank. Do you know what I mean? Usyk's not the guy who's got the equalizer power.
Dubois
but he just keeps hitting it. He done great. He done great in that fight, but in the end, he got dropped with a jab, and it was exhaustion almost that's done him. And that, if you're Joseph Parker, what fights are you looking at to break down Daniel Dubois? Do you know what I mean? I know Usyk's a southpaw, but when you see a fighter get beat, that's where you're looking for the weaknesses and the insecurities, and there you can then marry in what I can do. I think it's another great fight, Deck. Is that going to be your favourite fight of the night?
I think that's the one I'm looking forward to most. I think there's a lot of intrigue there. Mm-hmm. I think there is a world where Dubois could really do the business early, but if there's one team who can nullify Dubois, or at least nullify him enough to then try and wear him down and try and get him uncomfortable, it's Andy Lee and Joseph Parker, because they form this formidable partnership. So on paper, this should be Daniel Dubois, reasonably straightforward first defence, 27-year-old, big puncher, against the former world champion who is kind of, 33 now? So he's been in there and done it. Mm-hmm. How many times in history have we seen that? The sort of younger guy. But this is the one I'm most looking forward to. It's a hard pick. Gun to my head, I'd say Dubois can get this one done like he did against Joshua. But write Joseph Parker off at your peril. And what a story it would be if he was to win the world heavyweight title again. Yeah,
and it sort of, if he does win, it's a quick match for him to fight Usyk, because them two haven't fought each other yet. So
it's one of the few,
it's one of the ones that I'd sort of lean into, and Joseph Parker would certainly deserve it at that point.
Yeah, I asked him if there was a rematch clause, and he said there isn't. As far as he knows, it's not in the contract, set in stone. If Parker wins, Dubois gets a immediate rematch. I think in Saudi they just go, we'll just take it on its merits. If it's a great fight and we want to see it, we'll do it again. But if not, Parker can get the Usyk fight. And then, because obviously this is for the IBF World Heavyweight title, let's not forget that was the one that was peeled away from them. So even calling them world champion is a bit dodgy ground in old money, because they haven't beaten the man. The man got stripped for sort of contractual reasons, but that would be another unification. The winner of this, you would think, could fight Usyk next. And Usyk says he's only got 2 left, George, but that's for another pod. So that's 2 of the 4 world title fights we've covered. What one do you want to go to next, George? Hamzah Sheeraz, his first world title fight. He's 21-0 with 17 knockouts. Frank Warren calls him the British Tommy Hearns. He has done everything that's asked of him. This guy is, I don't know, he's going places very fast. And and often he goes to Saudi. He was like the team captain in the 5 versus 5, wasn't he? And he beat Ammo Williams that night, wasn't it? So
yeah. It
That
stopped him in the 11th round. That was and that's the thing. Like at the moment, it feels like he is a bit unstoppable. You know, since he's been
he knocked out Tyler Denny in 2.
Tyler Denny in 2. You know, he knocked out Liam Williams in 1.
Mitrofanov, that was the guy who was on Usyk's team, the Ukrainian, who was 13-0-1, so undefeated. Sheeraz just pieced him up and knocked him out after like 30 seconds of the second round. Like, he has never, ever failed to step up and do the business. But he's got, in Adames, he's got very tricky customer, 30-year-old. He's Las Vegas-based, but he's Dominican, or from the Dominican Republic. He's 24-1. The one came in, 2019. Patrick Texera beat him over 12, and that was for an interim belt, a super welter, so light middle, 154 pounds. So maybe Hamzah's just too big for him. He's massive. He's taller than me, and he's a middleweight. It's mental. He's going to have.
You're not middleweight.
I'm 6'3", but Sheeraz is taller than me, so he must be 6'3", 6'4". I remember when I first met him, he was 11 stone. I was thinking, how the fuck can you do that? But anyway, he's as always going to enjoy
how
these
good
height
would
and
he
reach
be
advantages.
at paddle?
Like, he would be the dream paddle, because if he was at the net, you couldn't get past him.
No,
he's got the slash. Although you don't want to be slashy in paddle, it turns out. But yeah, I think he'd probably be just as good at paddle as he is at.
He's not getting tired, is
boxing.
he? I mean,
he ain't getting
does
tired.
anybody get tired at paddle? I don't know.
Levers.
Yeah, he's probably like half a step away from everything, isn't he? Wingspan of 7 foot.
He's already
or
there. Massive wingspan, which someone like Adames is a good, tricky boxer, very capable boxer. I just don't know how he lives with Hamzah Sheeraz. I'm not really sure how anyone does.
Should we make a prediction on this one? The Dominican Republic. I mean, if it's Sheeraz and if it's a win, is it an early win? Like, and if he does, if he bombs him out in 2-3 rounds, what sort of statement does that make? Where does that put him on the world scene with the rest of the champions out there? Who's the champion still? We still
the champions are Janabek.
Janabek, yeah. He's still got.
Janabek's got 2 of the belts. He's got the IBF and the WBO. He's defending them against a French guy who's like 4-11-0. Forgive me, Janabek, but it's not a good opponent in terms of like the guy's not on his level. So we're not really sure what Janabek's at the moment. Erizlandi Lara still holds the WBA. If he goes out there and chins Adames in a few rounds, and it's like, I am the man in this division, and it has to be like, I'm pretty sure then the Janabek Hamzah Sheeraz fight develops into like the next Saudi, let's get them over here sort of fight. I think it's not going to be as easy as that, this one. I think Adames is very canny, knows what he's doing. I think he might have to work for it. I think he might just have to figure him out a little bit. And I do think he will. And I do think he'll knock him out, but it might be late. I want to see him against Denzel Bentley as well. Because Bentley's back now after the defeat against Nathan Heaney, a couple of years ago now. He's done enough. That's a fight I really want to see. Who knows what happens with that? But that's the one for me down the line that I really want to see. But right now, Hamzah Sheeraz looks unstoppable. It would be a massive shock if he loses for me, I think. Yeah.
Would it be a massive shock? I mean, how good is...
For me, it would be.
Damage, yeah.
I
think they're looking after him and they're matching him really well. And they know, on paper, it's a great fight. Whenever you're challenging for a world title, it's never easy.
It would. Well, I don't know. I think on the odds, I think he's got to be an overwhelming favourite. Mm-hmm. Adames is very good, though. He's had 3 12-rounders as well since moving up to middleweight. So he's like, he's experienced. He knows what he's doing. He's been in there with punchers or at least rough and tumble guys like Derevianchenko, Julian Williams, who stopped him in 9, J-Rock. So and he beat Terrell Gosha in his last fight, who's really good as well. So he's no mug, but I just feel like Hamzah Sheeraz is special. Mm. I'm going to say Sheeraz inside the distance. What do you think? Yeah,
I'm going to say Hamzah Sheeraz bombs him out in 2 rounds. Keeps
2 rounds?
Yeah, 2 rounds. You get me the odds. To figure out what it is
at some point.
Yeah.
So we should now strictly let's go to the 4th. Although this is not like the most the fight that not everyone's sort of clamouring over, but we should do the 4th world title fight on the bill next. And that is Shakur Stevenson, believe it or not, at lightweight, the WBC lightweight champion.
Yep.
And he takes on the 18-0, I think it's called Kid Austin, Floyd Schofield.
No relation.
Now this was a no relation to anyone else called Schofield apart from all the members of his family, but nobody from sort of British daytime television as far as we know. However, this was a fight that was supposed to be against William Zepeda. It was supposed to be Shakur Stevenson against William Zepeda. Remember Zepeda? Would he break his hand or something against Tevin Farmer?
Right.
Remember that? He won in Saudi.
Yeah.
Let me just get that up because that's actually the reason why we've got this fight instead. This was supposed to be Shakur Stevenson against Zepeda, who at one point was number 1 with all of the governing or sanctioning bodies at lightweight. He beat Tevin Farmer in November in Riyadh. He got dropped in that fight, but he won a split and apparently broke his hand or suffered an injury of some description. So Shakur needed another opponent, and Floyd Schofield was like, "I'm your man." And everyone said, okay. And they shook on it. And now they're fighting Floyd Schofield, the youngster, the young buck at 22 in only his 19th outing.
Yeah.
Gets the chance to like send a proper shockwave through boxing against Shakur Stevenson, who looks near enough untouchable in his 22 wins to date. What do you think happens? Is this another Shakur UD?
I want to watch more make a accurate assessment. I've just been watching him on this morning. To be honest, I've been watching the wrong one.
Shit. That was your research went to pot.
I was going to ask Gino De Campo what he thought, but he can't get hold of him either. So no. How about this deck? How about Floyd shocks the world and just puts the right spanner in the works and does a number on Shakur Stevens? 18-0, ain't really put a foot wrong. 22 years of age. Is it coming way too soon, or is he just like? Is he the real deal?
I think it's coming too soon, and only because of the type of fighter that Stevenson is. Like, if he was a crash bang wallop bloke, and when you think, he's just a puncher or whatever, and he might just not get there in the end, and he can just sort of take the sting out of it. I just think Stevenson's so good, and he's like a Rolls Royce of a fighter, but also kind of safety first at times. They're the ones that are really hard to upset. He won't get a little he won't get a stinky knockdown and like get himself ahead and then just bore the tears off everyone. I don't think that happens. I think Stevenson just gets into a lead and just cruises his way to 12-round clear victory. And this could be the snoozy one of the card in that sense. And
if he's 22 years of age, so he's turned pro young, as they do sometimes in America, and he's been fighting unbeaten fighters from pretty early stage, and sometimes good wins, but I don't really know these guys. There's Jesus Valentin Leon, 23-1-2. He's had, even last time out against Rene Giron, 20-3. So they've all got a loss or such on their record. They're not unbeaten. They're not Shakur Stevens, but maybe he's in a position to take this opportunity. Maybe that's what Riyadh season's always going to be about. Is that the phone rings, you take it, you make it happen. But he must be confident. He wouldn't need to roll the dice at this point of his career at 22 years of age, unless he'd really backed himself to do great things. Let's see. Yeah,
it's a weird one, isn't it? It's true, because why would they rush into this fight unless they knew something we don't, but maybe just wanted an opportunity. One little fun fact about Floyd Schofield, I don't know if you remember this, George. In the very early days of the podcast, we were kind of offered him. Can you remember this? It fell through in the end. Didn't happen in the end. But we got offered him by, I think it might be Golden Boy or something, but we were like, Floyd, okay, we'll have him, but it didn't happen in the end, which is a shame. Because then we'd have far more context there. We'd be an ECM and we'd be backing him. But I think he loses. I think he loses 117, 111 on the on all three cards.
118, 110.
Can't say fairer than that.
Yeah.
118, 110. Lovely.
All right.
Okay.
Who else
that's the 4 world title fights. let's go. The fight that I feel is the most evenly matched, but may not catch fire, is the 12-rounder between Vergil Ortiz Jr. and Israel Madrimov at 154 pounds super welter or light middle, whatever you want to call it. Vergil Ortiz 22-0, of course. Israel Madrimov, his only defeat of his career was against Terence Crawford, that reasonably close one in August last year in LA. I just think it's a really, really good fight against two guys who are like right there to decide who's sort of the best or one of the best in the division. Shine came off Madrimov a touch by losing to Crawford, but it's Terence Crawford. But I don't know. Maybe it could be unbelievable, or it could just be a bit of a chess match. Vergil Ortiz doesn't really play chess, though. If you look back at the rest of his career, 21 knockouts from 22 fights. So it's one of those.
What would you say he's more likely to play? Like
paddle.
Yeah,
he'd be banging at paddle because he's so aggressive.
What is the most aggressive board game there is out there? Is it
Risk.
Drafts? What's
Risk? Risk is where you it's like the map, and you go and have to conquer countries and that. Remember Risk?
Oh, you're so posh, Nick. I ain't got a clue. This seems like a game that you'd have to have all the pieces for. Like that weren't what I grew up with, mate.
No, but on that, I'm not sure he really likes board games that much. We're 22-0 with 21 knockouts, or just every single one of his fights were ended early. Like he did Frederick Lawson, Thomas Delorme in a round each. Some other early stoppages in there, and then he came up against Sergei Boachuk.
That was in his last fight, Dick. That was in his last fight.
Exactly.
And we're talking about people doubting their power. We're talking about now Vergil Ortiz going, "Do you know what? I've just been well matched, and
he got dropped twice in that fight.
Down in the first and down in the 8th round.
Yeah, by Sergei Boachuk. So you just wonder, don't you? You think, ooh, is he just found that level now? And against these really top guys, maybe. Well, he still won. He still got dropped twice, by the way, and won a majority decision. So you can't take too much away from him. But Madrimov is so good. He's so very, very good.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened to it, but yeah, I think it's the best, most evenly matched, and most sort of intriguing fight.
Yeah, it's definitely a fight that you're not going to go, oh, there's a lot of box on tonight. I'm going to go and have a piss and fucking whatever. It's probably the fight you definitely don't want to miss, like, to be honest.
Nah, you don't want to miss with a piss.
No, you don't want to. Yeah, nailed it.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what one.
Do you want to give us a predicky for that one? What are you thinking?
I remember watching that Ortiz fight. The last one when he gets up on the floor, just thinking, oh wow, like you're a one-trick pony, and when it don't work, you're absolutely out of sorts. And Madrimov, I remember thinking, there's something about you that I really like. Then I remember going and watching him train Uzbekistan or somewhere very similar, just out with a bunch of typical London boxers, like the ones who would tuck their socks into their tracksuit bottoms. They've all got their bandages on for runs, and they're running up and down mountains, shadow boxing in the cold.
I think that's in California, because it's all them Uzbeks are out in California, in Indio, California. Yeah.
No. Well, I think he just.
Shit! I know what you're talking. I know the one you're talking about. They're all like shadow boxers, all snowy. Is it that one?
Probably, yeah. I mean, this was around the time of his last. It was around the time of his last win. It was pre-Crawford, and I think it was after he beat. He won on the Riyadh season against Kurbanov. What's his name? Kurbanov, is that his name?
Kurbanov, yeah.
Kurbanov. Sorry, I can't say his fucking name. Kurbanov.
Magomed Kurbanov.
Yeah. That's easy.
Shall I tell you what I think is going to happen in this fight, George?
Go on, what's going to happen in this fight?
A draw.
Nice.
I think here's your draw for the evening.
Well, talking of draws, right? I'm gonna leave you on that draw, and I want to move on to the next fight that we're gonna talk about quick. We're not gonna talk too much about it, but I want to talk about two other heavyweights in there. They're fighting for WBC interim title. It's Zhilei Zhang, Big Bang. He's gonna bang you all against Agit Kabayel. I think this might have draw all over it.
Fuck off.
I reckon it's got draw all over it. I reckon Kabayel gets up off the floor and then Zhang runs out of steam and it's.
I mean, Parker Zhang could have. Yeah, Parker Zhang could have been a draw. It's that you don't know what size and shape and version of Zhilei Zhang's going to turn up, do you? Because, like, I remember Dave Allen always.
I know what size and shape and version of Zhilei Zhang's a sharp. A giant Chinese fella out of shape who punches like fuck. Like, that is what we're going to get. Okay,
41-year-old southpaw. Yeah, but Dave Allen always used to say he's the best heavyweight in the world over 3 rounds. Like, unbelievable skill, and then he just sort of. Not that he gives up, but I think he just fades, doesn't he? Because of his size as well. Talking about someone, when he lost to Parker, it was 291.5 pounds. And then he stopped Deontay Wilder, so he still got it. We know that he knocked out Joe Joyce twice. But Agit Kabayel is like small. He's a small, compact heavyweight. Look what he did to, Makhmudov. Like, just peppered him. Then he knocked out Frank Sanchez. Different fights to Zhilei Zhang. But, like, I think he's a really underrated, probably not underrated anymore, but I think he's all wrong for Zhilei Zhang, especially a 41-year-old Zhilei Zhang. I think he does.
I've got his record up now, right?
Go on.
Who was the last person to go the distance with Agit Kabayel?
Is it Derek Chisora?
No, he's been a distance a few times since then. Who's the American Derek Chisora?
Kevin Johnson.
Yeah.
Wait, where did he fight? Oh yeah, Kingpin. Fuck, that was in
Kingpin,
2021.
Yeah,
Shit,
not long.
That must have been one of his last.
Is that his last
anyway,
fight?
Yeah, that was what. Yeah, it must have been. No, he didn't. Aiden Yildirim. He's still going. He boxed a guy called Aiden Yildirim. No, Aiden. He bought. It was in his second fight. No, not Avni. Aiden must be related.
Yeah.
It was only his second fight. Mental. Anyway, let's not get stuck into Kevin Johnson now. Not on this card. I think Agit Kabayel against Zhilei Zhang is a great fight. One of those great little Riyadh season heavyweight fights where they've just gone, who do we like? What heavyweights do we like who've been over here and done the business? Zhilei Zhang does the business. Get him another big fight. Agit Kabayel beat Makhmudov, then Frank Sanchez. I think pretty sure both of them were undefeated at the time. And he's like, yes, Kabayel. If anyone deserves it, it's him. I think he's right there. Yeah, his last 3 fights, Kabayel. Agron Smakichi, it was 19-1.
Yep.
Makhmudov 18-0.
Yep.
Sanchez 24-0. So we're talking about someone who's like, what, getting on for 50-0, something like that. 50-1. The combined records of his last 3 opponents. He's very good, Kabayel. He's only getting better. 32, like in his prime for a heavyweight, if you ask me. I think he beat Zhilei Zhang.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah, why not?
I think he's going to beat. I think he might get dropped, and there's every chance anyone who fights Zhilei Zhang gets spangled at some point. But I can't. I'm not the 41-year-old Zhilei Zhang. It has to run out at some point, doesn't it?
I'm thinking draw.
The draw. I mean, if that is such a great shout. If you call, there's one thing calling Vergil Ortiz and Madrimov a draw, but Zhang against Kabayel, the draw is mental.
Yeah, Schofield, Shakur, Stevens draw.
We're going triple draw.
Well, who knows? But Deck, let's whiz this on to the last bout we're going to talk about this evening. And is this the closest fight? Like the biggest 50-50 on the card, really. We've got former foe of mine, Callum Smith. He takes on Joshua Buatsi. 19-0 Joshua Buatsi now. Callum Smith 30-2. The 2 losses, obviously. One was against the main event, Beterbiev, and he lost to Sol Canelo Alvarez. That must have been 2020, the end of 2020.
Yeah.
So he's up, but he moved up to light heavyweight then, didn't he? He had that win over Rivera. He's had his last time out against Galvan, TKO in the 5th. I mean he even knocks people out or he gets stopped lately. Callum Smith. Yeah.
Interesting last few years for him, because I interviewed him actually, because since the fight against you, George, he's only boxed, and that was
Seal.
6.5 years ago now.
Yeah.
Right. He's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fights since then. So a smidge over one a year. That is just not active enough. And before then, obviously he had the Super Series, which helped. But even then, he'd only had a couple. He'd had big layoffs. Like he had nearly a year off between Blackledge and Scotland. Yeah, his inactivity's been really strange. It hasn't helped him, and he's admitted that. He said that was never his intention. He lost to Beterbiev in January 2024, and then he came back in November just to get that win on the board. And amazingly, that was the first time since 2019 that he'd boxed twice in the same calendar year.
Yeah.
So it's been stop-start for him.
And in the same year, but like Beterbiev was in the January and Galvan was in November.
Felt like a long layoff. But
yeah, he's never had a run of like form, I suppose. Like probably since the series where he had, but even then it wasn't. He had 2 fights back to back. Then he had to wait 7 months to fight me. Joshua Buatsi, on the other hand, 19-0 now. But again, it feels like is he 8 years into a pro career? 2017 he started his. So yeah, I mean it was halfway through. So he's nearly 7.5 years. 19-0. You know, I mean COVID hurt everyone to a certain degree, but yeah, he's been up. He's been up for the last few years, up at 12 rounders. But
he's just been stealthily building that. Like since he's been up at the 12s, he had Chalic at 12. But like Ricards Bolotniks, Craig Richards, Dan Aziz, Willie Hutchinson, who he's beaten all of those. Bolotniks was a late stoppage, but the other one's on points. So just doing enough, winning these fights, winning these stuff. Not spectacular a lot of the time. Like the Aziz fight, well evenly matched. He won. He was a comfortable winner. Comfortable is probably the wrong word. He was a worthy winner on the night, but not spectacular. Maybe you could say Hutchinson was a great fight. I really enjoyed that, and I thought he looked really good in that fight. I thought he only won on a split.
Yeah, I mean that was strange, wasn't it? Hutchinson was down. I think he was down in the 6th. He was down in the 9th, and he said he had a point deducted.
That was a wild card. The one that he didn't win.
Yeah.
Because Howard Foster 115, 110, Salvador Salva 117, 108. They told the story of the fight. Gregor's Melenda, don't know what he was watching, but it goes down as a split. So what brings us here, George? And again, we would have done a whole podcast on this fight on another day if it had been a main event at the Echo or something like that. First of all, do you think the fact that it's not going to be the main event, it's not going to be 11 p.m. in Liverpool or in London, but it's going to be in Riyadh, probably, I don't know, 5 o'clock or 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't seen the running order. Is that going to affect the type of fight we get? Is that just impossible for that not to change or alter the fight that we see?
I think both guys are experienced enough now. Callum Smith in particular, he's been involved in huge nights. The final of the Super Series against me was, it wasn't at home, but it was a big fight. And then obviously his 2 losses, feeling like an underdog, feeling like the away fighter, being away from home in front of huge crowds. So I don't think there's an event that would be too big for him. So I'm not sure how the pressure gets to him or nerves or whatnot. It might be weird fighting that early, everything just, you're like, you have like a lunch and then you think about, am I going to have dinner or not? Or you have a light bite and a packed lunch for the change room because you're ring walking at 10 o'clock because guess what, your main event? Actually, these guys are not. Do you know what I mean? They might be fighting at 7:30 or whatever it is local time. So it's like they've had their lunch. It's like, better get ready.
Earlier.
Let's have a shower.
Be earlier.
Let's liven up. Yeah, they better get going. So,
do you think that? So say that affects if or it doesn't, because it might be that both of them are bulletproof to that.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking. I know it's boxing. I know it's different and it's the individuals, but like I remember when I used to cover football, you know, when you went to the midday 12 o'clock on a Sunday, it was always just nobody could be asked. Like the players could barely be asked. No one in the crowd could be asked. It was all just flat.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if it seeps in at all, or if that all the context of this fight, does that benefit either of them? Does that affect either of them?
I think it may. Would it suit a Buatsi who doesn't have that level of experience? You know, he's had what feels like domestic rivalry dust-ups against Craig Richards and Dan Aziz, someone who, you know, he's probably spent time with, sparred before in the past. But, yeah, it's not a huge thing. It's not fighting Canelo, is it, out in Vegas or out in Mexico or whatnot? So if it's down the card and it feels smaller and it feels just like you're not the main event, people are not scrambling to chat to you, that probably suit Joshua Buatsi, I'd say, more so than Callum Smith. But Callum Smith might not be fast. He might be happy that he hasn't got to talk. He never come across as a huge talker. You know, it's just how it is. But I think, you know, Callum Smith must be thinking, well, what do I want out of boxing now? And, you know, he's climbed the summit before. He's former world champion. He came on the pod and I caught him for a few minutes at the press conference in London. He told me he wants to win a world title again. But one of the guys out there, the guy who's got all the belts, is the guy who's already beat him, stopped him. So, you know, he must know that it can all just... If he's fighting just for the sake of boxing and the money, then... Does that suit him better or not? I don't know. It's all down to the individual deck, isn't it? But yeah, I think this can be a good fight. I think both guys are going to want to put a dent in each other, and quite possibly could. I think Smith's height and range is something that you have to really worry about at times, and Buatsi doesn't want to be there in front of him. Doesn't want to get caught with any of them check hooks. Doesn't want to be caught with any of the long straight shots. He's going to want to... He's very well balanced, Buatsi, and he moves well on his feet. But he does get caught over the top, especially over the top with the right hand. You know, and Craig Richards caught him with that shot time and time again in their fight. He does have good power. Like, not quite equaliser power, but...
Who?
But Joshua Buatsi, but I think he hits hard enough to stop you in your tracks. And as long as he isn't too tight at the weight, you know, he's been like heavyweight his whole career now, and I said that's 8 years. Never been one who looks like he balloons up in weight. But if he is naturally heavier and it's naturally harder to make that weight, that might, you know, take a few rounds off him, might take a little bit of the sharpness, a little bit of the punch resistance off him. I'm looking forward to this one, Derek. I think Buatsi's the favourite going into this fight with the bookmakers, and I think I'd make him right to be the favourite as the slightly fresher guy. But Smith is a hard one to predict because he does blow hot and cold so many times. You know, if you watch his fight with John Ryder, you know, you'd be like, my God, like, has this guy ever got to the level he's got to? If you look at his fight with, I think, Luke Blackledge, he wasn't particularly great. If you look at the fight, you know, going back now, but he boxed a kickboxer. The fight before me, he boxed a kickboxer in the World Super Series, Holskin, and he was like, it was a late standings. Yeah, but you know, he just didn't perform. So it was like, if he blasts you out in 2 rounds, if you get in there with Van Damme and he gets rid of him in a round, or if you get him in there with you know,
Bowdalik took him out.
Bowdalik.
I'd say Castillo was the rough one. Castillo was someone who'd been a distance with Bivol, and he left him quivering. Can you remember that one? I think it was at Tottenham on Joshua undercard. Yeah, I think you're right. Like, the best Callum Smith, if we get the best Callum Smith, then he beats Joshua Buatsi, I think. I think the best Callum Smith against the best Joshua Buatsi, I'd pick Callum Smith to win, maybe. But you just don't know what is the best Callum Smith these days, because he admits it himself. We just haven't seen that much of him.
Yeah.
And yeah, so since the Bauderleek fight, which
Yeah.
was August 2022, so nearly 3 years ago, he's been stopped by Beterbiev, and then he's boxed 2014 and 2 guy Carlos Galvan in an 8-rounder. So you're like, what is it? What Callum Smith we getting? But that's where the intrigue lies in this fight, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And he's, Joshua Buatsi working with Vergil Hunter out in the States, out in Oakland, I think it is, Deck. Is that where they are?
Yeah.
California. You can see that, like, training with a guy like that isn't for everyone, but if you can do it, if you can sustain it, if you can absorb the information that's there, you can be one hell of a fighter. I think you got to be just as tough mentally as physically. You got to be intelligent. You got to, and I saw Joshua Buatsi. He jumped in the ring for a couple of rounds with Lucas Rohrig over in Churchill's gym, and this was just at the start of his camp. He literally saw Lucas and thought, he looks about 6'2". He's 6'3". He might do a decent bit of sparring. I think I'll go in there and have a little feel up. And he was out of shape at this point, but you could see all the old school pro moves that he's been learning the past few years, and that might be part of it. Smith is Still with Buddy McGirt? He's with Buddy.
As far as I know, yes. It wasn't with him for the for his comeback fight, but it was an 8-rounder, and it was really like late notice. But as far as I know, his plan was to be with Buddy still. So
yeah, it might be an American trainer off.
Yeah, it's a great fight. Can I push you for a prediction? Who would
if you made your comeback, Deck? Who would you want to train with? Which American coach would you like to spend some time with?
Probably Ronnie Shields. Actually, do you know who I go with? I go with one of the Mexican American, like Robert Garcia.
Robert Garcia, yeah.
That'd be fun down there, wouldn't it?
I think that he probably
as well.
I mean, how many times has he won Trainer of the Year? He probably you and Bam.
Yeah.
You need to get in shape for the paddle board, mate, with fucking Hamzah Sheeraz. He's going to smoke you.
So I tell you who's really big into paddle? My mate texted me today saying I bumped into Frank Buglioni is a paddle player.
Oh yeah, you
big
and Frank
man.
cut from the same cloth, mate. 2 chips of the same block. Like
a couple of paddle dudes.
I reckon. Draw.
Well, it's a 2-man team. It's 2-man. Okay, so I would go for.
What would your paddleboard team be? You and Frank Buglioni. What would you be called?
Well, he was the wise guy, wasn't he? What about the wise guy and the idiot? That's me and Frank. Me and Funtime Frankie. So any paddle players out there, we'll have you. But at the more pressing matters, George, can I press you for a prediction of Joshua Buatsi against Callum Smith? And are you going to say draw again?
Yeah, I don't know.
Could be a draw.
Could be.
The winner, of course, wins the WBO interim world light heavyweight title, so therefore should be in line for a shot. So it's like the semi-final.
Yeah. I think if Smith's on it, I think Smith beats him. But
points?
Yeah, he's got a good shin, Buatsi. I don't think he'll. But both guys, you never really back either guy for points, do you? Do you know what I mean? Maybe you back Buatsi for points of late. Yeah, I don't really. Actually, well. I think that's yeah. I might.
I think it's a distance job.
That. Yeah. No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I reckon one guy might be tight at the weight, and we will just sit. Or maybe they both are really tight at the weight, and then that plays a pivotal part in the outcome of that match. And therefore, I don't know what the guys are weighing. I don't know how they're thinking and feeling, and I haven't looked into their eye, Dick, as Frotch would say. I like to look into his eye.
It's only early in fight week as well. We didn't really see much from this week on the screens and whatnot. Yeah, and it's about who handles the occasion as well, because it's a big one.
Yeah.
Despite the fight night, they're not the main events, but like all that media and all that stuff, they're both seasoned guys though. So I think it's a distance fight. I think it could. I hate to say it, but it could go either way.
Could be a draw.
What I can tell you, first of all, speaking of draws, is if you were to go for the double, and please gamble responsibly if you are into that sort of thing, the Shakur Stevenson, Floyd Schofield draw with the Zhilei, Zhang, Agit, Kabayel draw double, you'd be looking at 337 to 1.
Nice.
Zhang Kabayel, even though I sort of sullied your pick there, it's only 12 to 1 the draw. So a few other people are seeing what you're seeing, which is just a big sort of durable Zhang, not quite breaking Kabayel down, but losing rounds. And yeah, maybe it could be one of them. What I can tell you as well, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but the cover of the Boxing News this week, George.
You on it?
No, I'm not on it, sadly. It is Star Wars themed or inspired. It's an homage to Star Wars.
Right.
If you haven't seen it, go and check out the socials. It is absolutely brilliant, and it is a proper hats off to the design team.
Is this?
Can you see that?
Is it Luke? I am your father.
It's called Star Wars, and it's Beterbiev is like Darth Vader. I mean, it's banging. Go and look at it. That didn't do it justice for YouTube people.
Didn't really watch Star Wars. Never got into it.
Dubois is not into it. Not in it. Neither's Bivol, but they're sort of. It's taken. Let's do
the characters. Obviously, you've got Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
What is that guy? Is he a robot or is he?
No, you're thinking of R2D2.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, is he the big bear thing then? Looks like
no, that's Chewbacca.
So who would be Chewbacca on the card this weekend?
Chewie. I mean, he is strong as fuck, Chewie. Like, he'll tear you limb from limb. So probably Beterbiev.
I thought you were going to say Zhilei Zhang. Okay, Beterbiev is Chewie. Who's R2D2?
R2D2 is like that like little robot thing. Maybe Floyd Schofield. Sorry, Floyd.
I thought you were say Lewis Ortiz. Okay.
Ortiz.
Who else is so there's Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker.
He's the hero.
Luke Skywalker,
hero of the battle.
He's the hero of the piece, so that's Joseph Parker.
Nah,
I tell you who's Skywalker
Darth Vader?
Darth Vader is Beterbiev.
He can't be everyone.
No. Darth Vader is Beterbiev. Bivol is Luke Skywalker. I'd say Hamzah Sheeraz is a Jedi. Fuck no, there's not enough mouths to feed here.
Who's
not enough people to go
who's around. Layla? What's her name?
Princess Leia. Who boxed out there? Who's the women?
Kabayel.
Nah, Scotney. Anyway, that is also, George, is a little reveal for you. That is the final boxing news of my tenure as the senior reporter.
I didn't know you was the senior reporter, mate. I didn't know you worked at Boxing News. Yeah,
and this is my last cover, so thanks to Nick Bond and Harry Payne, the designers, for making it such a iconic one. Yeah, I'm off to pastures new, George, and we're going to the Ring magazine, which is a big bucket list for me. Bucket list tick.
Yeah. Oh, well done, Deck. Congratulations.
Thanks, mate.
Virtual handshake, high five. Boom, have that.
Virtual Ortiz. So, yeah. I'm. It's my last week of Boxing News, and then next week I'm straight on the horse.
Are you moving to Riyadh and Saudis? Or stay in
no, I won't be.
Shoreditch?
I'll be on the exact same desk in Shoreditch. Yeah, banging out heavy hit after heavy hit, I would think.
And did you tell His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh says, like, this is amazing, this is a bucket list dream, but I'm also fully and wholeheartedly committed to the listeners of the GGBC. I've got to stay there forever. Or are you parking that up as well, bud?
Well, I haven't been told. I haven't told him anything because I haven't. Believe it or not, he's not involved in the selection process as far as I know. But I will still be on the GGBC, of course, because we know that this is the number one boxing podcast in history,
and it makes no money. It's just a passion project, and sometimes you just got to do that
it's for the fans, isn't it? It's keeping it real.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all very exciting. So Boxing News, been a lovely tenure with Boxing News, and now I'm off to pastures new.
Well, yeah, yeah. Well done, Deck. This is very, very exciting. We're going to get so many trips. Bring me along, yeah? When you, like, I'll go in the hand luggage or something. When you go, right, I'm off here, I'm off there, I'm going to interview this top fighter and this top fighter. Don't forget about little old George. You know.
Well, believe it or not, like it could be. Who knows? It could be me writing in the Ring magazine about Lucas Rohrig in a world title fight. Imagine that, doing the report. Lucas world title win against.
That's it. That's a good idea. Lucas Rohrig, my one and only fighter, who I professionally train and manage. Just keep writing about him all day and every night.
Every week.
Just keep doing Lucas Rohrig. Can I get him in to do a feature each week? I'll write it. You write it. He'll write it.
Can we? I've got an idea.
Got him.
Maybe if he changes his name to Lucas Rohring. It's one letter.
That's not a bad shout, actually.
Lucas the Rohring. The Rohring magazine. Anyway, that means that's why I'm not there. I'm not out in Saudi, sadly, but I'll be working from here, as will you be. And maybe the greatest card in history. Let's see if it lives up to the billing as such. So many thrills and spills. It's going to be banging. Get your popcorn. If you're at home, this is a treat. Sit down, get your favourite snacks. What's your snack of choice when you're a punter, when you're just at home watching? What do you go for? What's the vibe?
Like, I mean, how luxurious we plan on going? How calorific?
Mate, it's your life. It's your bank balance.
Can you do you know? I think they sell them in supermarkets, but you definitely get them at the cinema.
It's a supermarket.
The chocolate covered popcorn. Have you ever had that?
Oh yeah,
it's
that's
like
ridiculous.
I'm gonna
lose teeth, get a headache, but it's worth it.
Yeah,
I might get a pizza.
I had to retire off the back of that. Get a pizza for boxing.
Might get a pizza.
Such a student, Dick. That's everything about it. What are you gonna get? A pepperoni pizza.
I love pepperoni. Anyway,
you probably get a vegan pizza now, innit? You would get a
definitely not. Let's not let this pod fizzle out to nothingness.
Come out Saturday. Come over Saturday. We'll do a slow cookout.
Just get the meat, get the reverse sear.
Yeah.
But will Dmitri Bivol reverse his sear of defeat against Artur Beterbiev? What I can tell you, George,
he'll get smoked.
What I can tell you is that the stakes are high in Riyadh.
Ah, yes.
Thanks.
And you put
and we'll have a chat. We'll have a divulge. We'll look over survey the wreckage over the weekend at some point next week. How about that?
Yeah, let's do it, Dick. All right then, buddy. See you later.
See you, mate.
Ciao.